Special meeting of the City of Hollister City Council, June 9th, 2025. We're starting the meeting at 6:30 p.m. Councilmember Ramos, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Okay, thank you for that. City Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Pache,
Present.
Councilmember Resendez,
Present.
Councilmember Morales, Councilmember Deanda,
Here.
and Mayor Stevens.
Here.
Thank you.
City Attorney, any report outs from closed session?
No report outs from the last closed session on Friday, June 6th.
Thank you. And then just with that as an FYI, we're going to go ahead and pull the two closed session items. We don't really have anything on either item, so we're going to pull those for tonight's special meeting. Okay, so let's go into the consent agenda. Do we have any members of the council that have any brief questions or comments? Seeing none, are there, City Clerk, any public comment?
There are no public comments for these items.
Okay, thank you. Any items that we need to pull? Okay, so can I get a motion on closed session, on the consent item?
Mayor Stevens, I'll move to adopt.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
I second.
Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Pache,
Aye.
Councilmember Resendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Morales, Councilmember Deanda,
Yes.
and Mayor Stevens.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on then to public hearings. Public hearing 6.1, status of vacant position as required by AB 2561. Can we have a staff report, please?
All right, if you could just shrink some of those ones, the little windows on the side, that perfect. There we go. Okay, so tonight's public hearing is in regards to Assembly Bill 2561, which is on our vacancy status report. So what is AB 2561? So this is a recently adopted law that requires local government agencies in California to publicly report on workforce vacancies, recruitment efforts, and retention challenges prior to budget adoption. Excuse me. If the vacancy rate in a bargaining unit is below 20%, the requirement is to present the following information. Information on job vacancies, recruitment and retention efforts, and any policies, procedures, and recruitment activities that may present obstacles in hiring. And the purpose is to increase transparency in public sector employment, identify and address staffing gaps in critical services, and to promote public awareness of recruitment and retention efforts. Can you please, thank you. Additional reporting requirements, 20% and above. So additional reporting obligations may apply if the vacancy rate in a bargaining unit meets or exceeds 20%. These requirements include the total number of job vacancies within the bargaining unit, the total number of applicants for vacant positions within the bargaining unit, the average number of days to complete the hiring process from when a position is posted, and opportunities to improve compensation and other working conditions. So we want to take a moment to walk through the bargaining rates or the vacancy rates by bargaining units as of 6/9. And so in confidential, these represented classifications, this is our professional, paraprofessional, technical support staff in confidential roles. We currently have 19 budgeted FTE, Think of that as your full-time staff, and currently we have 3 vacancies. That gives us a 15.8% vacancy rate. For Hollister Firefighters Union, this is the battalion chiefs, the captains, the engineers, the firefighters, inspectors, and our deputy fire marshal. There's a total of 47 budgeted positions, with 4 being vacant, for a total of 8.5. For Hollister Police Officers Association, that is the sworn sergeants, officers, non-sworn clerical, records, and support staff, and animal control staff. There's a total of 58 budgeted positions with 12 vacancies. That puts it to 20.7%. And then in mid-management, that is your mid-managers, not including the public safety mid-management that we just mentioned, 15 budgeted positions with 4 vacancies at 26.7%. And then SCIU, that's our professional, paraprofessional, technical, clerical staff, maintenance positions, a whole host of positions sprinkled throughout the city in various departments, with a total of 62 budgeted positions with 8 vacancies for a total of 12.9. Overall, the city has 222 budgeted positions with 39 vacancies at a vacancy rate of 17.5. So as far as our recruitment and retention efforts, all recruitments are open to the public, offering a broad and diverse candidate pool. We use equivalency ratings utilized as needed to allow for flexibility based on city and department needs. Human resource staff actively participate in career fairs and community events to promote employment opportunities. Regular job postings through social media and the website. Back in July of 23, we implemented NeoGov, which has improved efficiency for applicants, hiring managers, HR, and that's a system that's used by many, many government agencies. And so before we had a much older system that was less user-friendly and harder to find. So we have gone with that. That also feeds into the government jobs network. So a lot of folks know where to find those, and you can fill out application cards and interest cards, those types of things, for even if positions, if they're not available now, may become open in the future. Job-specific career boards are used for targeted advertising, often at no cost. Email blasts are sent to neighboring agencies, foundations, local law enforcement academies. I spoke about the job interest cards. Custom job flyers highlighting the details about the city department and or division. Pre-employment physicals have been removed for administrative roles to onboard or to streamline onboarding. And then sworn police officer specific recruitment and retention bonuses have been implemented over the years. As far as retention, the city maintains a competitive compensation and benefit plan. Education and career development offered, so we have tuition reimbursement, professional certification pay, et cetera. Special assignment opportunities to engage skill development and growth. Flexibly staffed positions to provide career path opportunities. Longevity pay for long-term service. Market salary studies and adjustments when necessary. And exit interview surveys sent to departing employees to enhance the experience for current and future employees. So since the beginning of this fiscal year, between new hires and promotions, we've had 18 positions filled. Sean, could you advance the next slide, please? Thank you. Recruitment obstacles and challenges. We do, and this is a challenge you see across many agencies, candidates not meeting minimum qualifications, non-responsiveness to testing or interviews. So, you get a handful, they pass screening, and then the day of the interview or shortly before, they may decline coming to the interview or throughout the process. Failure to pass required testing components. Incompatibility with city department standards, or failure to pass the pre-employment background check process. Our time to fill has been influenced by a variety of factors. So we have our open and continuous recruitments for police officer trainee that was opened, February of 2024, and with the lateral academy grads and academy attendee that opened August of 23. Multi-step testing processes require external rating participation or raters, so you have to bring in different raters. You're dependent on their schedules as well to coordinate. Sometimes you'll have, a panel of 3 or 4 different professionals from other agencies, so coordinating all of their schedules sometimes takes some time to get, all of them to line up. And then time needed to negotiate hiring terms, resignation notice time, then utilizing an active eligibility list, and then you have, academy start dates for your police officer trainee new hires. So these are, I'm going to walk through the units that are above 20% or at or above 20%. And so our the Hollister Police Officers Association is at 12 vacancies. That's 20.7%. Just to walk through the number of applicants. So for the trainee position, we've had 250 applicants. 4 have been hired since July. Police Lateral Academy grad attendees, 89 applicants. We have not filled any of those since July. For police sergeant, we had 11 applicants. We had 1 promotion to fill that position. Animal control officer, 74 applicants. That was one that has been active and is in process. And as we go through the budgeting process, we've kind of put a hold on that, but there's still we're still in that place where we've collected those applications. And then as well as multi-services officer with 89 applicants. The average number of days to fill has been 180 plus days. The average number of days open, the open and continuous are 25 days. Average days for review and testing, open and continuous, or 65 days. Remember, some of those you just have them ongoing, so you'll collect at any time. And then the average number of days for pre-employment process, open and continuous, or 90 days. And so we continue to evaluate opportunities to enhance compensation and working conditions to support recruitment and retention. And so the council over the years has, continued good faith bargaining with represented units, conducted salary and classification studies, exploring enhancements to benefit packages, reviewing and updating specialty incentive pays, investing in workplace improvements and updated equipment, and update job classifications to bring minimum qualifications to industry standard. For our mid-management group, that is currently at 26.7%. The number of vacancies currently is at 4. For the associate engineer position, this is in this fiscal year, we had 9 applicants. 1 was hired. For the senior planner position, we had 2 applicants with a failed recruitment. The average number of days to fill, 73.5 days, and that breakdown is as followed. Average number of days open, so that's why we're gathering applications. You post it, allow people to apply. The average number was 25 days. The average number of days for review and testing was 25 days, and the average number of days for the pre-employment process was 23.5 days. And again, the same comments that we had. The city continues to evaluate and enhance compensation through the last few years and working conditions to support recruitment and retention. So the same examples there. And with that, we're open to questions. I do have Stephanie Brown from our HR department is here as well, who handles a lot of the recruitments and works with the departments to get these positions filled. And then Mary, perhaps you can touch a little bit on the ability for the bargaining units to present this evening.
Sure. So when you open the public hearing, Mayor, the bargaining units have the right to come up and present to council. There can be no time limit set for them under this current law. And so, absent any questions, you can start the process.
Okay, so we're going to do public comment first, however, right? Public comment first or public comment after?
I think after the union speak would be more appropriate, but
Okay.
up to you.
Okay, then let's go ahead and let's open the public hearing and go ahead and get presentations. Sorry, do you have a question? Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you. City Attorney, I think the council gave direction to eliminate all of the current vacancies. What is that going to do? I would imagine if we eliminate them, we haven't done that yet, then our percentage is going to go down. Am I understanding that correctly?
I think they would go down, but that's more of a Dave question.
Yeah, depending on what you adopt at the budget hearing, then these numbers would be affected by that, absolutely.
Okay.
But this is a point in time, and so we've brought it as the point of time as of current. for
Okay,
the
and that's
point of
going to
this.
take place during the budget hearing if we choose to proceed with that
That is correct.
action. Okay.
That is correct.
Right,
then-
and this is a process that will have to occur every year going forward under the law that took effect January 1 of this year.
Very well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry about that. Let me check on this side. Any questions on this side? Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
No, I'm actually really glad that this legislation passed. So I want to talk about the impact of work. So even though we have the work coming in, some of it is predictable, some of it is not predictable, like crime or, things like that are not predictable. But I wanted to talk about the impact of work. Having vacancies, and I understand that some of them were strategic and some of them were unplanned for, meaning there was separation. But is there a strategy to address kind of the work? Because it isn't like if we delete positions, it isn't like we're not going to do the work, or is that the plan? So I kind of want to hear a little bit more of the strategy of what's going to happen with the work, the analysis of the impact of that work and the service to the community. And also, I'm interested in hearing the impact on the staff that's left to take on that additional work. So if you had, you have a 20-some% vacancy rate with the middle managers, they're having to absorb that work. Is there a plan to have some level of relief or a strategy to make the work easier or streamline it? Looking for kind of like the plan.
Yeah, I think the biggest piece that we have to look at and looked at collectively amongst the body here is what we look at going forward as, discretionary work versus the mandatory work. I think you bring a very good point. You have our building department. We don't know who's going to walk in that day. Crime, you don't know, what you're going to entail. And so as we continue to work through this, we are going to be looking at, trying to keep any projects that are outside of the common, just getting the general work done. I think we really need to evaluate that work and get back to basics. I think over the years we've gone from basics to a lot of other projects that were out there. And so those other projects do interfere with the basics. And so we're going to have to look at that collectively as we go on and really look at budget time, what we can afford and what we're going to do, and use the budget as your plan going forward for the year, because your budget is your staffing and your work plan. And so we'll have to be very mindful as additional items come before you. We will have that discussion as well.
So we're going to see a plan after we adopt the budget. We should see a work plan in terms of how many people are left to do the work, what is that work in terms of the impact to the community, the impact to our staff, and how we're going to kind of move forward. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. I mean, I look at, you mentioned mid-management. One of those vacancies is in my office. And so, the council had asked for a more economic development activity and to work with businesses. That work has fallen primarily on the shoulders of our office. And so those are some examples of where we would have to tighten up and use our fee structure as well. There's a lot of times where we're working collectively with groups that, we do have a fee to work with groups. And it's something that I've talked about with our staff, and some of which are here tonight, of implementing that fee to recover those costs. But overall, we do have to look at it from a budgetary position, and I don't know how far out I can get ahead of the budget, but there's also the factor of if you simply may not be in a position to afford all of the positions, as we've talked about even at last year's budget as part of adoption. So it's that delicate balance, and we'll continue to work towards meeting our mandatory requirements and mandatory needs, and trying to be more mindful of the discretionary projects that come up throughout the year.
And just a comment on the codes and the deletion of codes. I would like to see an analysis as you're looking at cutting positions. If you cut a position that generates revenue, then that person's not there to kind of generate that revenue. So a position might bring in a couple $1 million. If you cut that person, you're also cutting the money that's attached to that person bringing in the revenue, if that makes sense. So not all codes, you can't say that number is going to be 0. That number may not be 0 moving forward because those codes are essential to the work and you can't just delete them.
When you say codes, do you mean like the position control number?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
And I just want to make sure, I mean, we're not going to give him that specific direction tonight. I think we're going to do that later, but I also just want to just like put this out there as like if we do put that direction out, like during that time, Councilmember Morales, that we're really specific about what kind of, like, what is it that what kinds of monies are you looking that they generate? So for example, there's some that are really straightforward. If you stand at the counter and you collect fees, then there's some money being generated by that. But if you do some work with, say, a business owner, then in the long run, we would get revenue through that. So it's kind of an indirect and maybe a more long-term thing. So I want to make sure that we're kind of thoughtful around that and not just, and not so general, because it is a difficult thing sometimes to quantify, especially when some of them are future investments in time, and it's not quickly like when you're collecting a fee. That's pretty obvious. So I just want us to be thoughtful when we're giving that kind of direction, because I think the question is an important one, and I want to make sure that we're able to get some answers to that. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions?
No, I think mine, like your example,
Yeah.
somebody that's collecting money, you can just do it payment online. So
Yeah,
it's
what-
about the work, the analysis of the work, and then a strategy on how that person's no longer there, then what's the plan to do the work if
Right.
the person's not there? And it could be automation.
Yeah.
Right, or something else.
Yeah.
But it's more of the thinking about how the
Yeah.
work or the impact to people,
Yeah, just
that's the analysis.
get it. Okay, good. Okay, and we'll have more on that to come. Okay, anything else? I'm not seeing anything else. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead then and move to the hearing, and we're going to start public hearing now. Okay, so let's go ahead and start public hearing now. 6:52, so we'll invite the first.
Okay, so we'll start with this. You got you.
Good evening,
Good
Mayor.
evening.
Jay Donato with SEIU 521. Good evening, Mayor, members of council, staff. So your city attorney said I can talk as long as I want to, so it's going to be a late night. So it's an interesting times. And I do want to thank the city that you have worked hard to be good to all your employees. I represent a lot of cities, and I also work with the Monterey County and the court over here, and there are a lot of good items and packages and such forth that the city has done over the years for its staff and your staff. And I don't think I just speak for SEIU. I think staff really appreciates working for the city. There's a lot of pride working for the city, and it's a good city. Right now are hard times though, and I think I appreciate the presentation that your city manager gave. It was insightful, thoughtful, and it talked about two parts, recruitment and retention. And I think right now, maybe retention is where our emphasis should be. Normally, I would be saying workload and we need to hire and good times. Yeah, your community deserves to have a fully staffed city. Our parks need to be in good shape. Our streets need to be, not having water main breaks. Our citizens need to have police department responses. They need to have, EMTs and fire department there when they need them. But at this point in time, that may, recruitment may fall down to just, fall aside to retention, and morale can be hurt. And staff, we're not in an island. There are agencies and cities and counties that can also offer positions to people. So what I would ask, and what SEIU ask, is to protect your vacancies, but unfund them. Because I think sometimes if you eliminate vacancies, it's much more problematic to reinstate them. So if you have them if you still have them kind of there, but not funded, then when hopefully, fingers crossed, when we're over this hurdle and we're going in the right path, we can start bringing those back up. So I think that's pretty much where I'm at. I mean, it sounds like that might be a direction. The city is one option, and I know that our members, they'd rather not take a pay cut. That makes them thinking, elsewhere they might be forced to go somewhere else, and then retention is hurt. And you have a lot of skilled, talented employees in this city that you want to protect. So furlough days, once again, services aren't being provided. Layoffs, of course, are the most drastic of all, and that devastates families, that devastates workers, that hurts the services to the community that those people provide. So, in your thought processes, we would ask that you protect those positions, but at least take the funding to keep current services and employees, whole. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, if we could check, Jay, did you have any other members of your group that were going to speak tonight?
No, we are finished.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You want to move on to the
Yeah,
next
let's
one?
move on to the
Okay.
next one.
The next one is Mid-Management Association.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Eva Kelly. I'm here tonight representing the Mid-Management Association. We are one of your over 20% vacant groups. We are also your smallest group with 15 budgeted positions, currently filled by 11. And as I'll talk a little bit about briefly, we're expected to lose another. I prepared, we reviewed the presentation. Thank you for presenting it in the agenda. And we'd just like to point out a few things that we feel are a little bit misrepresented in that. As the city manager discussed, the purpose of this new law, AB 2561, is to increase transparency. It's to identify these staffing gaps in your critical service positions, and it's to promote public awareness of our recruitment and retention where we have these vacancies. And again, one of the requirements is to include opportunities that the city is considering to improve our compensation and working conditions for our highly vacant bargaining units. In the name of transparency, while the numbers at the bottom of the vacancy table were true to 22 budgeted positions and 39 vacancies, that's excluding your executive staff. So we'd just like to point out that there are 21 budgeted positions that were not included in that table, 8 of which are vacant, for an almost 40% vacancy rate of your executive staff, those remaining positions. Those are being covered majority, if not fully, by your Mid-Management Association. When we do not have a leadership, we are taking up the mantle. And then, as I mentioned briefly, Mid-Management is known to be losing another member, bringing us to 5 of our 15 positions. So again, over 30% vacancy that we're going to be seeing. We are covering these mid-management positions. We're covering these executive positions, if not wholly, in part. And we're covering for the SCIU staff members that are our vacant membership that would be otherwise our staff. We're responsible to make sure that our divisions continue to function and the services that our management positions support continue to provide. We are your midline between your day-to-day staff and your executive staff, implementing the policies that come down from executive staff down to enforcing those at the day-to-day. On the topic of recruitment, I would just like to point out that the associate engineer start date was 7/1, and the senior planner and associate engineer recruitments that were identified in the position or in the presentation were in 23-24. They were not this year. Recruitment efforts for MMA staff have been essentially frozen all year. We have, one of the statements is competitive benefits and preparation of compensation studies. The last compensation study that was prepared that included some, but not all, of the mid-management associate positions in August of 2022 consistently showed below average compensation for our association and members and our positions that are covered by our MOU. These are just some. In our current agreement, the city only agreed to move the fleet maintenance supervisor to a competitive salary range, despite these others being shown as negative. And it was also agreed in our current MOU to review the unstudied positions. To date, this has not been done. I've listed all the positions that are identified in our current MOU that were agreed to study and consider salaries for by February of last year. And again, to date, our association has been excluded from salary studies. The city, and we've received a copy, prepared a salary study in February of 2025, just a few months ago, and mid-management was once again excluded from this study. The city claims to have competitive benefits for your mid-management association. Our health benefits were frozen in 2023, and the city has refused to come back to the table to discuss this since the new MOU has been in place. You can see our across the board health contributions are lower than SCIU, confidential, and executive. They're the lowest health benefits you offer at this agency. We have 2 less floating holidays than our staff in SCIU. And prior to the current MOUs, not only for ours, but the current for all of the others, the city provided equivalent health and leave benefits, at least across mid-management, confidential, and SCIU, provided equal benefits. This has not been the case for the last 2 years. On the topic of recruitment and retention, again, there's been no recruitment for mid-management in over a year, no backfilling of any of our positions that have become vacant, and it's not mentioned that the hiring freeze, whether official or unofficial, is an obstacle to recruitment. The city has claimed, again, competitive and compensation and benefits that are helping retention. I think I've pointed out that we aren't even competitive amongst our colleagues. One of the things that was pointed out was education and career development, and while this is true, I'd like to point out that I have one staff member who's been trying to get approved tuition reimbursement for months now. It was approved over 9 months ago, and it's been obstacle after obstacle just to try and have that paid out, approved tuition reimbursement. You've talked about flexibly staffed positions. This is just simply untrue in mid-management. There are flexibly staffed positions across the city, but there's been rumors, discussions that MMA staff have heard that the city is discussing withholding step increases, and obviously, and at this maximum step, if you start at the city step 1, are here for 5 years, you have to exist in stagnant pay for 5 more years until the longevity kicks in and there's a benefit to staying at this agency. The city also claims, again, to do market salary studies and adjustments when necessary. That's simply not the case for our group. When it comes to opportunities to improve compensation and other working conditions, MMA has considered and proposed things to the city that we believe are reasonable, increasing compensation to reflect cost of living increases, increasing health care to be equitable to other city groups, lowering longevity, increasing the number of floating holidays to be equitable, increasing vacation accrual. Again, our group members are here day in and day out trying to serve the community. And many of us are maxed out on vacation, losing our vacation accruals because we are here trying to serve, trying to make up for staffing deficits, trying to accomplish the projects and policies that the city council has put in place. But we can't take time because it loses out for the community and service that we can provide, yet we're not earning vacation accrual. And these proposals seem to be falling, again, on deaf ears and rejected by the council in the name of equity. We also propose to hire employees to fill budgeted vacancies to reduce the workload that your mid-management and other staff are feeling. We understand that there's a cost associated with these requests. And we had prepared a cost evaluation based on the methodologies that are done in the salary studies. We looked at this as a table of the positions that our association is covering. So our filled and vacant positions across budgeted MMA positions, but also budgeted SEIU positions that are our staff that have vacancies, and budgeted executive positions that are being covered by our staff. Based on this analysis, we found that it's almost $3.1 million in the current budget that's being covered by 10 staff members, 11 of us going down to 10. We're directly covering for at least 17 of the vacant budgeted positions in addition to our own work. We also have evaluated the costs and potential cost savings of the city's contracted employees, where we have a budgeted position or could create a position equivalent and hire city staff and not lose services, because again, you're creating a position if it doesn't exist, or filling a position that's currently being filled by contracted staff members, and have found potentially almost $450,000 in cost savings. And these annual costs of city staff are at your maximum potential costs. So this is a step 5 person who's been here for 20 years getting the maximum health benefits. So these actual costs for city staff are even less in reality. So the savings could be even greater. And this would solve two birds with one stone, right? You were trying to have city staff to be dedicated here, to be living here. And we understand that recruitment for some of these positions might be difficult. We do understand that. But for some of the positions, you have staff who, at least maybe a month ago, likely would have applied, qualified, they're doing the job. Our staff that's here in my department, that's contracted staff, they all live in town. These are jobs working in town. And we're potentially going to be cutting the contracted staff positions either way. So you're sending not only someone else to commute, but you're also losing service when we could be saving both of these things at no cost to service to the city. We've talked about this briefly, and many people spoke at the last meeting. But I'd just like to reiterate the cost savings of canceling the rally. Expenses that we know or are unknown, exact in cost, but are anticipated and planned. You've hired a promoter for $300,000. This promoter has not been the one who set up your vendor forms. That was your staff. This promoter has not been the one who set up the event maps. That's been your staff. At overtime, for that matter, because there hasn't been time during the day for the staff members that are doing that work. We've heard that there's a request for insurance premiums of $250,000. Either that or the event is uninsured. The security company contract that was recently brought to the council on Friday indicated that security was going to cost $270,000. And the things that are costs that I don't have numbers for you have been your weekly executive staff coordination meetings that have been happening for at least 6 months, an hour and a half of your entire executive team in planning this. That's a significant cost in time and service to the city. There's been discussions of needing a communication app service that can only be purchased in an annual amount, like an annual subscription, in order for our security team, our public works team, our police and fire teams to be able to communicate on the day of the event. You obviously have to purchase supplies, water, food for our safety personnel in the operations center on the days of. You've purchased new K-rails and barriers in order to be able to support and enclose this event. And none of this includes the day of staff costs, all of which are going to be at overtime or event pay. You've pointed out revenues, obviously, in the discussion, and we're not saying that there aren't going to be revenues associated with the event. There's been a statement that there's been $450,000 in donations and sponsorships. We would ask, even if they want to remain anonymous, that the city produce the numbers to ensure that the accuracy of that statement. And obviously, we've talked about sales taxes, and I would just like to point out that while the planning division, I'll speak specifically to the planning division in this matter, we are not working directly with the vendors through the promoter in the event area. We are working with vendors at the Corbin event that's happening on the same day, processing that event permit. And it has been fighting tooth and nail with the vendors every day for weeks, trying to get them to apply for a business license and a sales permit. So they don't want to pay city taxes. They don't want to contribute these things. Historically, it's been shown time and again that the rally has had a net negative cost. And what we are seeing as your staff is that it will continue to do so. We see a revenue opportunity and things that have been missed, or not missed, but the city council elected twice to exit the fire contract early, which was bringing in, between San Juan Bautista and San Benito County, about $2.5 million in revenue. We understand the reason for it is that it was, it's less than what it costs to provide those services. We understand that. But choosing to exit the term was an exit of the revenue stream. And again, the council rejected $4 million in revised contracts. And I understand, though I was not able to watch, that this is potentially being reconsidered last Friday. But again, time and again, we've seen the council reject revenue sources when we're in this crisis. And then the city council has elected to take on a 5-year repayment plan of our funds instead of the option for a 10-year repayment plan, which is increasing our annual general fund expenses greatly. And while I understand the argument that we feel we're already 5 years into this, we think that that's flawed. It's not anyone's fault that this was just recently discovered. And I think there's an argument that it seems that the city has potentially had erroneous financial payments long before that. So you could say we're 20 years into the 10-year repayment plan already, and it's therefore what do you do, right? I think we're starting now. We're trying to fix our problems now, and we should pay. I think this was last year, so we should have 9 years to pay this back and be responsible, and that would take a lot of your general fund kind of deficit that you're seeing here, trying to repay these other fund balances. You could spread that out more and see a little bit less of a need in your general fund. We see other revenue opportunities for the council, some of which are long-term or more policy changes, but we'd like to point them out to you. Allowing staff to charge adopted fees for applications and services. The city manager pointed it out as well, but We give a lot of concessions, especially in my world, in the development world, to economic development, to potential developers, business owners. And while I understand the need for economic development, clearly we're looking for revenue sources. We do have adopted fees to pay for staff time because it does take a lot of time to provide the service that we provide. We provide a lot of details. We look at plans, we look at codes, we look at applications. We provide all this to them when we have these pre-application meetings. And when they come at no cost, you're losing that to those applicants, not only who have paid, but also to the community who's paid for staff to be doing other things. We could enforce code enforcement, administrative fines, and deadlines. We spend a lot of staff time dealing with years-old code enforcement cases that never have any consequence and therefore never are resolved. I think this has been mentioned, but we agree to bring forward annual fee increases, and we recommend including all departments' fees. Things get excluded, and we recommend including everything. Making timely decisions when items are brought before you as the council will reduce staff and consultant costs for repeat staff reports and presentations. One example I have from my world is our inclusionary housing ordinance. That was intended to be a $35,000 6-month project that was grant funded. It became a 2.5-year project that cost over $90,000, and we lost probably about 200 affordable homes because it was not adopted. And one thing that we wanted to bring up that was mentioned last Monday when we were looking at revenue opportunities was new programs like a business improvement district or tourism improvement district. And we urge you, when you're looking at these new programs, to avoid things that are going to require not only an initial upfront staff cost and cost, direct or indirect, but these things that are going to require ongoing staffing to implement. You do not have the staff. You need to look at other things, and you need to look, a one-time study to maybe do a tax or something like that doesn't have these ongoing staffing things. That would be where I would urge you when you're looking at new programs and policies. Things like this, districts that are going to require annual reviews and maintenance, those are going to require staff to ongoingly implement, and you don't have the staff to do those things. I think that's in summary, we have seen the city council, past and present, time and again, make rash and politically motivated financial decisions that have led us to this moment, whether knowingly or not. Some of these decisions cannot easily be remedied. Purchases of 190 Maple Street without an understanding of the costs needed to bring it into usable office space. Purchasing a $2 million fire truck outright rather than on lease. Purchasing a $500,000 plus elevator upgrade to the Briggs building that's intended to be paid for by a tenant that only submitted the necessary application just 10 days ago, despite knowing these application requirements and timelines since October of 2023. And we understand this. And we understand the city is currently facing a difficult situation with the budget deficit, and you're exploring options. However, please also understand that your staff are trying to assist and evaluate potential solutions, and it feels as though these ideas are falling on deaf ears. We urge you to reevaluate the costs for contractors that are currently filling in for necessary positions. If the data and methodologies that come from your own commission compensation study do not reflect true costs for city staff, we ask you to please provide the true cost data. We urge you to go back to the county and San Juan Bautista, tail between your legs if you must, and beg them back to the negotiation table on the fire contract. It was always the intent of the negotiations that they would lead to revenue to pay for our health and safety services, yet the council has chosen the stance for greed in a time of necessity. Return to the table at the end of the contract term if you must. We agree that the terms have never been in the city's favor. but we urge you to come back to the table now. And we urge you to please reconsider the Independence Day rally. In the face of a budget crisis, you cannot, in good faith with your staff and your community, host an event that has historically and with all available data today will continue to come with net financial losses. This city operates on a skeleton crew, with vacancies across the board at almost 20%. Full service jurisdictions of similar size operate with twice as many budgeted staff as this agency does. And yet, the council asks concessions of our staff or to face the threat of layoffs. On behalf of the Mid-Management Association, we request that the City Council consider furloughs over layoffs if you must. However, we have heard rumors that the council does not want to consider furloughs because that would mean there's less service. There already is less service. Layoffs will only further exacerbate this issue. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You asked for staff to work with you through this budget crisis. However, we respectfully request the same. We ask for transparency, respect, and consideration and understanding of the work that we do and will continue to do to the best of our abilities. We do not believe this to be an unreasonable demand. However, we are already operating on thin, impossible margins. Each day, our membership, our staff, and our leadership team members come to work to serve this community. We are here to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of the city of Hollister and to enforce the policies and regulations that are in place to do so. However, we cannot and we will not continue to perform more with less. You cannot place this financial burden wholly on the backs of staff. It will not be the City Council that feels the impacts when we can no longer provide the services that the public currently is receiving. It will be the community that suffers at your hand. And finally, to the community, I ask on behalf of all our staff, without their permission and begging forgiveness if I speak out of turn, I ask the community for your patience and for your grace. It's almost inevitable that our services will suffer regardless of the direction in the wake of this situation. And please understand that it is not our goal or the intent as your public servants. I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Eva, did you have anyone else from your team that was going to speak?
I do have Amber, and I don't know if anyone else is here, but I will check in. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Amber Cameron. I'm a senior planner and a member of the Mid-Management Group. Tonight's presentation misrepresents the challenges we face as employees. We have negotiated in good faith, offering solutions, presenting data, and making concessions to support cost-saving measures. Yet despite our cooperation, we are met repeatedly with budget cuts. Twice already, staff has been asked to reduce budgets by 10%, and now we face another round with the threat of layoffs looming over us. We are told to be more understanding, as if our concerns are not unreasonable. We do understand the city's financial position, but we are not requesting anything that is extravagant. We're requesting basic necessities, a cost of living adjustment to keep up with rising expenses, equitable health benefits to access the same medical care as our other colleagues. The Mid-Management Group consists of just 10 employees, each carrying critical responsibilities across multiple departments. Many of us have no opportunity to advance, as many of us have reached the maximum step in our salary structures, while wages remain stagnant while inflation continues to rise. We are maxed out on vacation accrual because understaffing makes it impossible to take leave without disrupting operations. For years, we have stretched ourselves thin, doing more with fewer resources to meet the needs of this community. Yet now we are being asked to sacrifice even greater. This will jeopardize essential services and budget reductions will ultimately cripple our ability to be effective. We serve this community because we believe in it. But if these cuts continue, dedicated employees will be pushed out, burnt out, and forced to leave for better opportunities elsewhere. We are not asking for more than what is fair and necessary. We are asking for respect, transparency, and support of employees who keep the city running. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
Okay, the next union group is the POA. Is there anyone here from the POA to present? Okay, the next one would be the Hollister Firefighter Union. Okay, and then the last one is confidential. Okay, Mayor, those are the group presentations. You can go ahead and open it to public comment too.
Let's go to public comment. Any speaker cards?
I have no speakers for this item.
Okay.
You
thank
can close the public hearing,
Okay, so we're
Mayor.
going to close the public hearing. Okay, so any questions? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. Thank you to our employees and our partners in negotiations and keeping to continue run the city services to come up here tonight and to give us your perspective. I want to say a couple of things about that. Number one, I think it just goes to show how competent you are in your presentation tonight. I really honestly appreciate having this opportunity to hear from you in this venue. However, city attorney, I would imagine that you're going to ask the city attorney not to address anything that was said tonight because of the time of the year that we're in and probably the situation that we find ourselves in. Is that not correct?
Right, I would caution strongly the city council bargaining in open session. So you are correct.
Okay, I thought so. So I'm going to urge all of my colleagues to do the same.
Okay.
But having said that, I've got to just address what was said tonight. Number one, I took very copious notes. I'd love to see a copy of your presentation, if you can provide that to me. I've got questions myself. A couple of personal things that I'm just going to put out there. Number one, I was elected the president of the Teachers Union for the next couple of years. I'm looking forward to working in a more official capacity within my union so that I can better understand both sides of public service and public employees. I'm very excited about that. Number two, everybody up here has a formal degree. At the bare minimum, I believe, a bachelor's degree, some of them master's, and I'm working on a doctorate degree that I'll have done in a year. So I just want to make that known to the public and to the employees because I think we don't base our decisions on emotions, but we do ground it in theory and logic. And I do plan on asking for a little bit more data. I really appreciate the data that was presented tonight, but I do have follow-up questions, and I just don't think that this is the forum to have that discussion here tonight. So I just want to leave you with that so that you know that, number one, you're valued. Number two, you're appreciated, especially your expertise. Number three, I do plan on following up. I'm speaking for myself, but I know my colleagues, they do as well. And those are my thoughts that I just want to leave you here with tonight. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Resendez. Any questions, comments on this side? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
Thank you to all the employee groups that showed up and spoke up. We know it's really challenging and difficult and nerve-wracking to be very transparent in terms of the information that was provided, but also want to thank you for the time and energy that you put into your presentations, how thoughtful, how detail-oriented. The analysis was very thorough, so just want to say thank you for putting that together. It was very informative, and just want to say again, we appreciate you and we thank you. And that was, again, very informative.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I'd really just like to mirror what my colleagues have said up here. We really appreciate staff. I can't claim rookie status for too long, but I really am coming around to think about when we give direction that it's staff that carries all this stuff out, you know what I mean? And, we're trying to listen to the community and balance what we're doing with the desires of what people tell us kind of on the street. And when we do go door knocking and we listen to our constituents, it's staff and staff time that makes these things happen. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate every single work group that makes the city run. Thank you for your presentations. All the time when we change direction from the last council, the feelings that must come out, right? When you're like, that was a total 180. What in the world? Now it's all this extra work that needs to be done. Those presentations that you've come up with and you prepared, I mean, that took time out of your work life and probably your personal life too, to get some of these presentations and to fix that water main when it broke at some untimely hour, inconveniencing people's lives and, putting you guys and activating, certain employee groups. So I just am really appreciative. It really is a tough budgetary time. We're working hard, and I know you are too. We're going to get through this. And, layoffs are the last thing that I even want to ever say again. So thank you so much for everything you've done so far. Let's get through this, and let's do it together.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Same, thank you so much. I will refrain from addressing any of the particulars because of the time of year that we're in, and it's not something that is appropriate for us to do in public at this stage. However, I will make one little comment about the fire contract. The fire contract talks did begin before last week, and we've had San Juan already consider theirs. The county will be considering it. So just so you know, that is in the works and looks very positive. So I would just say that only thing. And then thank you everyone who spoke. I appreciate it. Okay, so anything else? I think we're going to move on to the next item.
Mayor, if I could just
go ahead.
If I could just add, as far as the contractor that we have for the rally, that's a $30,000 contract, and then there's a step up for any funds that they raise at above $90,000. So it's not a $300,000 promotional cost, nor is the insurance a $250,000 cost to the city.
Okay.
And you will have those items to approve as well.
Okay.
As part of budget.
Thanks for those clarifications. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to council business 7.1, discussion regarding a cannabis regulatory permit for fault line manufacturing at 1785 San Felipe Road. Can we get a staff report, please?
Good evening, Council. My name is Maria. I'm the Cannabis Affairs Manager. And the item before you tonight is for the consideration of renewal for fault line manufacturing. Its operations are at 1785 San Felipe Road. And staff tonight is requesting direction to return to a future meeting to approve or deny the renewal for the permit for the 2025-2026 term. To provide some background, Fault Line Manufacturing has seeked renewal since its approval in June of 2018. Although they are permitted, they have not yet become operational or revenue-generating cannabis business for the City of Hollister. The City of Hollister places no limit on the number of cannabis regulatory permits for, I'm going to say, manufacturing, cultivation, transportation, and testing. Council must consider all cannabis permits and applications for renewal for those categories. The Hollister Municipal Code also has options available to renew with conditions or to deny based on on findings for any of these renewals. Like I said, Fault Line has held a permit since 2018. It has not become operational. According to the City of Hollister Municipal Code, there are findings for council's consideration of denial of the renewal, and staff has identified some findings for the denial. Those are, there's currently unimproved and, that is currently unimproved and non-operational. The site currently hosts 2 other cannabis regulatory permits, which is one that I believe the council remembers we brought a few weeks ago for Monterey Bay Alternative Medicine, which is the second dispensary in the city of Hollister. There's also another cultivation permit that is held by L plus L LLC. Sorry. This is the site where the permits have been issued. As I previously mentioned, there is code violations, there we are, at the site. I'll kind of go through them, but not in detail. There is no valid building permit work for some work that's been done at the site. Also non-compliant, unpermitted activities. There is, the facility is in violation of the building code as well. Responsible parties for the property owner are the applicant as identified. And for that, the property owner must seek additional entitlements to become an operational location. Okay, but this is the site. Just kind of shows some of the work that has been done without permits. Tonight, staff is recommending that the city council review the request, and if it's the desire of the council to approve the renewal, the conditions that staff is proposing is that the public dispensary shall commence at the new location, which is here, within 1 year of permit renewal, which was approved at the last meeting. That all code violations at the location are corrected by December 4th of 2025. And that all land use and construction related activities at the permitted location must comply with the applicable codes, and all fees and taxes are paid, obviously, in full and on time. And again, the recommended action for tonight is to approve with the conditions or denial of the cannabis regulatory permit that is based on the findings that have been presented to you. The resolution for either approval or denial shall come back at the June 16 City Council meeting. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mendez. Any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Then we're going to go into public comment.
There are no public comments for this item.
Okay, then I'll close public comment, and then I'm coming back to City Council. Councilmember Resendez, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. I'm prepared to make a motion to move forward with the staff's recommendation to return to a later meeting to either approve or deny the cannabis regulatory permit for Fault Line Manufacturing for the 2025-2026 term.
And so this doesn't necessarily need to be a motion. It can be a unanimous direction, but.
I'm sorry. Well,
No,
that
that's
could be
okay.
my direction and my
Yeah.
position.
Okay.
Would it be to bring it back with the conditions, or? Yeah, maybe, I'm going to ask Rod to step up and just to clarify.
From what I understood, there's
Yeah.
conditions for denial. I'd like to get it on the agenda to bring it back to either approve or deny with the conditions.
Okay.
So, Rod Powell, Assistant City Manager. So what we're asking for tonight is similar to what we went through with the Monterey Bay Alternative Medicine. So we've presented tonight the potential of you to have findings based on the code violations, et cetera. So what we're trying to do is to present you both tonight and get an indication from you as to which way you'd like to go. And we would bring that motion or bring that resolution back to you, either to not approve or deny in the motion, but one or the other on the 16th.
Okay, thanks for that. Do you have anything else, Councilmember Resendez?
No, I appreciate you going into depth more about that. I kind of was reading between the lines a little bit. I kind of understood that we had that situation already, so I just figured that's what we were going to do. But thank you for explaining it.
Okay. So the direction tonight is to give direction about where we're leaning for Monday's meeting, right? So we want that direction. We want to get like an inkling of where we're at, so I think I may have an idea of where I'm leaning, but I'm not sure whether everybody else on the dais is, and I just want to check if we feel like we're ready to give some direction on this. So. Any questions so that to further clarify? No? Okay.
No, there's no limit to the number of manufacturing regulatory permits. It's not like a dispensary.
No, there
Right,
is.
that's correct. You have a limited, the only permit, the cannabis regulatory permit that is limited is the dispensary, and that
Okay.
is limited to 2. So you can have unlimited in cultivation, manufacturing, distribution. Those are all unlimited.
Okay.
So if you
Okay.
approved with conditions, if you gave that direction, we would bring that back. They would have some conditions to meet to get the final approval.
And
Yeah, same as, that's pretty much what you did with the last one.
Yeah, and
Similar
I would just
situation.
preface it that we are really trying to implement this conditions of approval to kind of jumpstart where we're going with our cannabis industry in the city, making sure that we're not idling for several years on end. So this is just
Sure.
a tool for you.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so can I get a motion then, or some idea of how we want to go? So here's what I'm thinking, that we just go with that staff recommendation.
I agree.
I'm tending to approve with a report on Monday with the conditions of what that might look like, and then we can consider those conditions and then narrow that down more on Monday. Okay, so can I get a thumbs up if everybody's okay with that? We okay with that? Okay, looks like we're okay with that. All right, so we're going with that. Thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to go on to our anything else from either of you
No,
before you.
you've got one more to go.
Okay, yes. Okay, thank you. So we're going to go on to next item, and we're going to 7.2, discussion regarding a cannabis regulatory permit on higher level of care, Hollister dispensary at 1802 Shelton Drive. Okay, staff report, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Maria again. I'm the Cannabis Affairs Manager. And the item before you tonight is, again, to review the request from Higher Level of Care to renew their annual regulatory permit for their retail operations located at 1802 Shelton Drive. Again, staff is requesting that the City Council review the request and direct staff to come back at a later meeting, which would be June 16th, to either deny or approve the request with the conditions that I will go over shortly. Yeah, it's... Okay, so to provide a little bit of background, Higher Level of Care is one of 2 licensed dispensaries in Hollister, which is one of 2 legally permitted dispensaries that is currently operational and is revenue generating for the city. Higher Level of Care opened their doors back in July of 2019. And they have been receiving City Council approval annually for their permit. Again, it is under the City of Hollister Municipal Code, the City Council may reject cannabis regulatory permit based on certain findings if they are met. And staff has found has identified a finding for
Ms. Mendez, can I just ask you just for a quick timeout? Can we? Thank you. Well, we just have some chatter in the lobby, so we're just gonna have them close the door, and then that way we can really hear you. It was a bit distracting, so appreciate your patience, Ms. Mendez.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, go ahead, proceed, Ms.
Thank
Mendez.
you. Again, staff has identified findings for consideration of denial of the permit, more specifically under section 5.42080, under annual operating fee, which covers the city cost of administering and enforcing the chapter. These fees are due quarterly to the city of Hollister, and then they begin from the date the city issues the regulatory permit. So staff has identified that higher level of care is within the operational period of 2024-2025. They failed to make timely quarterly payments as required, again, by the code. To solve the delinquency, higher level of care contacted staff and requested a payment plan. Staff was able to grant the payment plan. However, higher level of care failed to make payments. They made an initial payment. Part of the payment plan was to make $25,000 a week until they were paid up current, and those $25,000 per week were not made. Currently, higher level of care owes, showing on the screen, they owe about $182,000, and staff had tried to communicate with them successfully. I was able to talk to the business owner, and we were notified that they had entered into a receivership. Staff has also communicated with the receivership and has let them know about the outstanding balance, and they have been working with us. Tonight, the approval considerations are, if the city council decides to approve the permit, is to have all the fees paid up before or by the expiration date of the permit, which is July 25th. And then moving forward, have all the taxes paid current. And the last condition would be that the permit would be revocable for cause, meaning that the city council can revoke the permit if the conditions are not met. Again, tonight, staff is seeking that the city council give staff direction to approve or deny higher level of care's renewal of application based on the findings and return with a corresponding final resolution for consent and consideration at the June 16, 2025 city council meeting. I'm available to answer any questions or clarify anything. And I believe the applicant is also available.
Okay, questions or comments? Do you have your hand up? Okay. Any questions or comments on the site? Okay, let's go ahead and bring the applicant forward. Are they on Zoom?
His name is Greg.
There you are. We can hear you now.
Okay, great. I appreciate you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez.
Okay,
You've been a
wait.
great work with me the past couple of weeks, and I
Can
appreciate
you just give 1 second? Can we do something about the echo? Is there anything we can do about the echoing? I'm sorry. We're just having an echoing in chambers. So just give us 1 second. Thanks for your patience.
No problem.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, hey, this is Greg Gammon.
That's
I'm
better,
the
thank
Chief Compliance Officer for Gold Flora Incorporated, which owns the dispensary. And I want to thank Ms. Mendez for her time on the phone the last couple of weeks as we sort some stuff out. She is correct. We've entered into a receivership. We did it ourselves. We weren't forced to do this because of a couple of lawsuits we inherited on amongst other things, but a couple lawsuits we inherited on a merger. The person who promised a $25,000 a week was our former CFO. Great dude. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but we have Jake, who's been working with Maria and talking, and we then looked at the budgets and looked at our cash outlay, and what we can afford is $25,000 a month, not a week, which is basically half of our operating cash flow out of that to keep everything going. And we're very confident we can meet those and stay current. We don't mind having a condition placed on that moving forward, that if we don't meet it, to revoke it. Our current financial position as a company, there's pretty much zero chance that we'd be able to pay the $275 before the renewal date. If the council is requiring that, it might be too much for us to overcome. But we can start making the $25,000 payments immediately and do it each month, and we will be staying current. And that's with the receiver, court-appointed receiver, going through our paperwork and looking at what was previously sent over as a payment plan, saying there's really no way we could do that. That would be twice each month's profit. And so we really would like to do $25,000 a month and have strict oversight over that, where you could revoke if we don't stay with it. I appreciate your consideration.
Mayor,
Okay, thank you.
can I ask a question?
Sure.
So just so council has clarity, and ask this of the speaker. So this is Mary Lerner, the city attorney, and I am looking at the appointment for the receiver. And it specifically says a receiver is appointed for marshaling the assets and overseeing the dissolution of the petitioners, which is you and your businesses, including the businesses and assets of subsidiaries of the petitioner. So it looks like you're dissolving. Like, that is the point of having the receiver.
The point on our end of having the receivership and entering it was not to dissolve the company. That is, of course, a possibility down the road. The receiver looks at the finances of the company and sees where we're at. We've already received our first DIP loan, which is a loan to help us get back on the good foot out. We've got backers for that in 3 tranches. And moving forward, we plan on not dissolving the company. At some point, the receiver could decide to do that if there's no solvency, like any path moving forward to get out of the financial situation we're in. The industry has been hit pretty hard as a whole. Just the whole prices of cannabis have dropped. It doesn't hurt the store as much, but it also, we're also a big cultivator. We have 300,000 square feet in Desert Hot Springs. We also have several other dispensaries. So I think there's a good path forward to get out of this, and that's what we plan on doing. And the receiver plans that, and any taxes moving forward in a receivership are paid. They get paid before anything. They control that portion of it for now. So that's our plan. Dissolving the company is a possibility. I'm not here saying that's not, but I think we have a good path moving forward.
So it also appears from the same order, it's still Mary Lerner speaking. It also appears from the same order that the court-appointed receiver is in charge of all the assets and property, tangible or intangible, real, personal, or mixed. So is it, and the receiver took immediate possession of all those rights. So is the receiver on board with the $25,000 a month payment? And does that need to be approved by the court?
Yes, the receiver has already talked to Ms. Mendez. She can verify his Jake. Talked with her last week. I was on the phone with him as well. Just looking at the past one, saying there's zero chance that, I don't know why somebody would agree to $25,000 a week. I wasn't involved in that as well. You got a couple fresh faces on this now. After looking at it with Jake and having the meeting with Ms. Mendez, $25,000 a month is what he came up with, what we can afford and what we will do.
Those are all my
And
questions,
stay
Mayor.
current, and stay current at the same time with what we have. They did pay, they took over 3 days before the final one was due, because that's what they have control of, and then they go to the past and start catching those up, like city municipalities and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and I don't know if Ms. Mendez wants to verify, but Jake did speak with her on the phone and talk about it.
So, but
Okay,
before she does that, if that's the direction the mayor wants to go, this is still Mary Lerner speaking. Is the receiver willing to put that in writing for the city?
Yes, I believe he sent over that paperwork to Ms. Mendez last Monday.
Ms. Mendez, can you come back to the podium for a second? And then I'm going to ask a quick question, and then I'm sure others have. So can you verify, in fact, did you mean $25,000 a month or $25,000 a week?
So just to clarify on the $25,000, I had been notified by the previous CFO, as Greg said, that they could make a $25,000 payment weekly. However, after when I spoke to Greg and Jake, the receivership, they told me that they could make the $25,000 a month. So yes, I was able to communicate with Jake. He sent me an email with that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. And maybe just stay there for a sec. We might have other questions. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna, I just want to be really clear. Like, I just want to say a lot of big red flags, Mr. Yaman. I'm really, I just want to be completely honest. A lot of red flags on, what's happening with your company financially. So it doesn't give me a lot of hope that it's going to be fine. And honestly, your assurance that you have a good plan moving forward is not anything specific that will reassure us that you have a good plan moving forward. So I just want to state that I don't see how that gives us any information about of which we can judge to give us any comfort that you are in fact financially on your way to solvency. So just doesn't give me a lot of hope.
I can dive deeper into that and what the plan is and how that's changed, I guess, if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I maybe yes, but let me recognize Councilmember Resendez to see if he has another question or comment. But yes, I think we might want to get a little more detail before we make a decision, but just hold on for a sec.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Mendez. So I've been here probably since they opened, and I don't ever remember them having any issues like this. They've always been a pretty good partner to the city of Hollister. And I do think that we should do everything that within our authority to support business, especially tax revenue businesses such as this one. I am concerned, such as the mayor had mentioned, but I want to talk a little bit about numbers and time. So how much do they owe right now, Ms. Mendez?
Currently, they owe $182,875.37.
Okay, so I'm going to just round down to 150. And then how much do they pay? How much do we get from them, and how often do we get from them? It's quarterly, right? So how much do we get quarterly from them?
We get roughly about 100. It varies because it's based on their sales. So I'm just going to throw out roughly $150,000.
Quarterly. Okay, so here's my concerns. If we honor the request of the applicant to go to 25 a month, that's going to take 6 months. No, I'm sorry. It's going to take, it'll take 6 months.
No,
That's
7.
Yeah, because I'm rounding down to 150. So that's going to compact the rest of the revenue that that they owe, right? But if we do 50 a month, I heard the applicant say that 25 was half of their profit a week. So I'm just going to assume.
That's
Sir,
yeah, okay.
Give me a second, please.
Right. I'm sorry.
Thank you. What I'm thinking, Ms. Mendez, is that's roughly about a quarter. So if we do 50 for 3 months, then I think that's a good faith offer. And my recommendation would be, if the council would entertain this, is to, so that we don't, if we just have this conversation now, bring it back on a consent agenda item for the next meeting, and then we're going to revisit this in about 3 months, I would say, right, if they fail to pay that over in the fall. Can we do that, city attorney and city manager? Can we make that recommendation and still give them their permit after the deadline?
You can place conditions on approval of the permit.
So I think that's a fair offer. I'm not interested in going back and forth with the speaker at this point, because I just don't think it's completely appropriate. If you staff feel like there's something else that we should consider, then bring it back to us at the next city council meeting. But my recommendation would be, if I understood everything correctly, and if I did it, you can correct me, staff can correct me on that. But my recommendation would be $50,000 for the next 3 months. Bring it back on the consent agenda for that. And I'm not real comfortable putting it out a whole entire 6 months, and then we're going to go almost 2 quarters and be behind in taxes even more so. So I'd love to hear from you guys and your perspective on that.
So again, we're taking it on the good faith of the receiver, saying what they can afford and not afford.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can set the approval of the condition and say if they fail to meet a payment, then that condition, basically they failed, that the permit at that point is revoked. I think where the challenge lies is they're going to come back and say we cannot afford that, and so we will not be able to stay in business and make that payment. So where is that sweet spot? They're claiming $25,000 is what they can pay per month to stay afloat, to then still generate the additional revenue and stay current, so they would still be paying their current fees. So it's, each quarter they would be paying, as Ms. Mendez mentioned, along with per month a monthly payment. If they fail to meet those conditions, then you could revoke the permit. We would bring that back to you. The difference is the $25,000, that's what they're saying they can afford per month, and you're asking for that $50,000 per month. I think it may be something where we chat with them a little more and bring something back that's maybe somewhere more, we have further discussions with them. But again, that would be something we'd work with the receiver on.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so follow-up question. City Attorney, you said, or somebody said, they still have to pay the taxes regardless, right? They're still going to have to owe the taxes. So, yeah, I guess if that's the case, then I can go with the 25. I know I'm going back and forth here, but I can go with the 25 a month with that stipulation, and I would still like to bring it back on the consent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, they do bring significant revenue in. As Ms. Mendez mentioned, they also generate sales tax on top of that. This is the local tax is what Ms. Mendez is talking about. So they are a revenue producer and have been a good revenue producer and a good partner. They are your only dispensary. We had the discussion with MBAM, but they are not operational. So if you were to revoke this permit, there would not be an active dispensary here in town as well. So
Sure. Okay.
That's kind of what we're facing with.
Okay. Okay, questions on this side? Go ahead, Vice Mayor. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it from a couple angles. They provide a service, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, even the VA looks at cannabis as a medicinal product. So, you can take less, pharmaceutical drugs and just use cannabis in a way that's responsible, and it's medicinal. And so they provide a service, and they have been secondly, they have been like a revenue generating partner. Just so I have the math kind of sort of correct, they're paying $150 quarterly, so that's about $50,000 monthly, and then they're claiming that they can put 25 on top of that, so they're going to be basically paying something like $75,000 monthly. Okay.
Their regular payment that they make is quarterly. Like Ms. Mendez says, it fluctuates based on sales and season and whatnot. Usually that range is somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000. So if they have a down year or the prices come down, tax is a percentage of price. So, you would expect to see that come down if they're selling the same volume at a lower price. You are seeing that as a challenge in the cannabis industry right now, and so they're not alone in the matter, but this is something that we would continue to work through.
Yeah, I feel like we, should potentially have some grace here and work with them and, continue to try to be a good partner. They are our only dispensary that
Yeah.
provides this product for people to use, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, Mr. Gamet, I would like for you to offer up a little more detail about how you see your financial path to solvency. Just give a little, not high level, not major detail, just high level kind of details, so that we just get a better sense of where you're at, so that we just have more confidence that you are towards a better path.
Understood. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak again. And so as we're going as a company, we hit some financial hardships, and it enabled us the ability to have third-party products in there. So we produce a lot of our own products. I'd say normally 30% of our sales are first-party products, 70% of our sales are other people's products like Steezy or some other company. Well, we had some financial hardships going in on the merger that we did with, not with this store, but other stuff. It didn't give us the ability to carry a lot of third-party products. So the mix of product went down, which also means shoppers that wanted those products will go elsewhere, even drive out of the city and spend the money elsewhere. We've received a DIP loan. We're able to stock the shelves up. We're about, I'd say, 90% of the way there of all third-party product and everything, and we've seen the sales increase as well. If you look at the history, you'll see that there's been a declining in sales in cannabis as a whole, but actually in the stores that we do high volume. This is one of our star stores. We love Hollister, and we love working there, and it's a very busy store, and the customers are great. So as we bring these products back in, they're coming back through the doors, which means higher revenues. Now, if we get to a point where we can pay more, we will. I just don't want to get in a situation like the previous person who promised $25,000 a week and not made the payments. I know we can do the 25 plus stay current on the current taxes moving forward. If we can get there quicker, we certainly will. And we're definitely not going to go into default, barring a major catastrophe or another pandemic or something. But, the plan moving forward is to give you realistic figures. I got involved on this because I handle licensing and everything like that. It seemed like there was a bit of miscommunication from our end. And after spending a lot of time with the receivers, this is the comfortable amount we can do it. We have been a good partner. I appreciate your guys' kind words, and I appreciate everything the city enforcement that does there. We really try to do things compliant. We do things compliant. And moving forward, we want to stay on a good foot with you. And watching your whole presentation and seeing how it affects not only us, but people that work for the city and what you can do there, it's a more of a motivating factor, honestly.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so I will entertain a motion.
This one's just direction.
Oh, direction.
Mayor.
So, sorry. So we're gonna, I think the direction is come back on Monday with approval with the conditions based on the discussion that we just had with the payments and any other things that you think are important for us to understand as we move forward. Ultimately, we want this to be successful. We also really need people to be, to pay their bills to us. It's really important, especially this big of a bill. So, so we'll. I'm just going to say that, and I'm just going to ask for a thumbs up from everyone.
And Mayor Stevens, we have not taken public comment on this item. We've only been speaking with the applicant.
Okay, I'm sorry. Public, do we have any speakers?
We do not have
We do
any
not.
public
Okay,
speakers.
thank you, Jed. All right. Okay, can I get a thumbs up or a thumbs down from everyone? Okay, it looks like we have 5 thumbs up, so we're going to move forward with that, and we'll look forward to seeing this on next Monday. Thank you. Okay, so that's our last item. I'm going to adjourn at 8:09. 8:09.